budget and have universal health care and get out of Iraq and restore America's prestige around the world. But I can do it in 4 words: elect a Democratic president. Great candidates, Senator Clinton, and by the way, there's a great presidential candidate here. His name is Joe Biden. He's my brother. And we got all these great candidates that are here, their surrogates are here. I think all of them could serve very well in the White House as my vice president. Now I know I'm new to all of you. You know, I've been running the state of New Mexico. I just got back from North Korea. We got 6 remains back of our American servicemen. Hopefully North Korea will move back and restore its integrity by shutting down one of its nuclear reactors. But I was asked this morning, I've been all over Iowa the last 2 days. I was asked in Denison, what would you do your first week as president? And this is what I said I would do. The first day, I would get us out of Iraq. I would do it without residual troops, all troops out before the end of this year. I would also convene a reconciliation conference of the religious and ethnic groups there to divide power, to set up frameworks of territory, to divide oil revenues, and then I would bring in countries from the region, Muslim countries, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Iran and Syria to deal with reconstruction and future security. What we need to do is recognize that this is not a problem relegated to Iraq. It's a problem we have in the whole region. And I remember Yitzhak Rabin, the great Israeli prime minister, he said, what you do is you make peace not with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. And this administration talks to nobody. And it's time that this administration and our country engage in something that we have forgotten about. It's called diplomacy. It's called negotiation. The second day, I would announce a plan for energy independence. I've been Secretary of Energy. And what I believe we need in this country is not little energy bills in the Congress. What we need is an Apollo program that says what is unacceptable is 65% reliance on fossil fuels and imported oil. And in 10 years, with leadership by a president, we're going to have massive public and private investment tax incentives to shift from a fossil fuel energy economy to renewable technology, to solar, to wind, to biomass, to biofuels, to ethanol, to distributed generation, to fuel cells. We're going to talk about having green buildings and green homes and solar roofs on schools. And we're going to have 40 miles per gallon energy efficiency in our automobiles. And we're going to talk about retrofitting homes. This is going to be a crash program, and it's national security too, because we can't possibly be dependent on OPEC countries, on the Saudi Arabians, on the Venezuelans, on the Nigerians, on the Persian Gulf countries. And I know how to do it because I've been Secretary of Energy. But this is a crash program where I say to you, every American, I will ask you to sacrifice a little bit in the name of energy efficiency, to make a sense of community in the third day, I would announce a plan to deal with global warming, greenhouse gas emissions. Our planet is saying fossil fuels and man-made pollution is causing inordinate damage to the oceans, to the air, to the ecology, to the wildlife. And this is an international problem, and America must lead. I am proud that the state of New Mexico is the clean energy state. That we were able, even though the president got us out of the Kyoto Treaty the first week in office, that my state abides by the Kyoto Treaty, and I believe that every single American state should have 20% of renewable energy and electricity by the year 2015. Critically important that we lead. China and India, the other huge developing countries that are not part of the Kyoto Treaty, should follow. The fourth day, I would deal with education, with our school, our competitiveness, paying our teachers better, finding ways that our country can be more competitive in science and math. I would have preschool, early childhood for every child. I would have full-day kindergarten, reduced class size. I would find ways to reform our K-12 system so that America, when it comes to China and India and other nations that are surpassing us in testing, can be more competitive. I would make sure that we reduce our horrendous statistics. Why is it that every high school kid that is Hispanic or African American, 1 out of 2, doesn't graduate from high school? I would find a way to have all kinds of efforts to ensure that every American that deserves it, regardless of income, can have a college education. We must reform our educational system and improve our schools and pay our teachers better and find ways to have universal education. The fifth day in office, what I would do is take a day off. The fifth day, we have to have a plan in this country for universal health. Too often what we see is excuses. And when 31% of our health care cost goes to bureaucracy, I would find new ways to develop a system where you're a veteran here. You shouldn't have to go to a veterans hospital to get your health care. You should get it right near your doctor. We should divide up Medicare and Medicaid among the states. The states do Medicaid, children, S-chip program. The federal government does seniors and families and disabled people. There's so many creative ways, and I believe, with all due respect to this great Congressman, Leonard Boswell, that every American should have access to the same kind of health care plan that Congressman Boswell has. And I believe that we can do it. Let me close, because I know this guy's getting antsy. I'm on my 8th minute. Let me close with this. Let's make this election. Let's make this election on who are the most qualified candidates. Let's not make this election on who is the biggest rock star, although Biden and I are moving up. Let's make this election on who can win. Who can win? Let me just make my case brief. I believe, like with Senator Biden, I have foreign policy experience. I've negotiated with foreign countries. I've been at the United Nations. I've served you as UN ambassador. I've been on the House Intelligence Committee. I've helped with North Korea, this country, on a bipartisan basis. We need somebody who can bring this country together. Apart from all the, we're strong partisans. Our country's divided over the war in Iraq, over immigration, over the gap between the middle class and those that somehow are doing better. I believe this election should be based on not just competence and plans, but about how we deal with the future. We shouldn't be afraid of the future. I'm a governor. We've elected governors before. And I believe that I've run a state. I've been a CEO of 110,000 person bureaucracy. I've cut taxes. I've improved schools. Executive experience is critical. I mentioned the foreign policy experience. I'm from the West. We shouldn't elect candidates that only appeal in certain parts of America. We should have candidates that can win in Ohio, in Iowa, in the Southwest, in the South, 1 or 2 states. And then lastly, what did I say? Joe, what did I say? Did I screw up? Oh, sorry. I want to close with this. You're going to see a lot of it. I'm going to outwork everything. I know some of you have made up your mind. That's fine. I don't mind being your second choice. I started a little late. They say, well, geez, Governor, you didn't raise the money that the rock stars did. Well, I did respectably there. I was in New Mexico running my state, increasing the minimum wage, cutting taxes, making schools better, making New Mexico the clean energy state. But now I'm ready, and I'm everywhere here and now. And I'm going to start my TV ads on Monday. And